Another matching function or a lookup function is index. And it's pretty simple. We can find the position of a cell or a cell value within a table using index. There are two types of index function. I use this first one. The first argument is just like the VLOOKUP function is asked me for the table range. Let's select this range. Depends on you how you want to select. You can select all the table. I just select these two columns. And then let's say that I want to see that what's the value in this cell, right? So I have to find this position that the cell that says south, right? Within this table. How I can find it, I should find the intersection between the rows and the columns. The row number is 1, 2, 3, 4. And the column number is 1, 2. So it should return south to me. There you go. Find the value for me. It's especially useful if you have a much bigger table and you're looking for a certain value in your table. All right. Next, we're going to learn more about logical functions and how we can combine them with each other and with aggregated functions. So what we can do, we want to do an exercise here. I'm going to show you an example of each of these logical and aggregated functions. And then you pause this video and then try to write the function yourself in the next column. Like for example, for this AND function, I'll show you how you can do this, return this value, and then you try to do it yourself. Of course, if you couldn't complete it yourself, you can take a look at the right answer, but again, try to do it yourself, okay? All right, so the first logical function or operator is AND. You're probably familiar with this operator, but what AND does is that it checks two conditions and then returns true or false. And if you know about the AND operator, if both of the conditions are true, it will return true. If one of the condition is false, it will return false, right? So for example, here, let me highlight this formula so you can see which cells I have used. In this example, I've used, I want to check whether this condition is true. I'm asking if the value in K3 is Boston and the value in entry is more than $10,000. So you see that one of the condition is incorrect. So this AND operator should return false, right? We usually use it in combination with other functions, especially with if function. We can also use OR operator if you type OR here and then check for the same condition if the K3 equals Boston and comma and entry is more than 10,000. So question, can you guess what this OR operator will return? It should return true, right? Because OR operator returns true if only one of the one of the condition is correct. So because Boston is correct, it will return true. All right, so now try to write the same function here and return this false. Okay, next one is ifs and AND, which means that we use a nested function to check for two conditions. And if those conditions are true, then we run this third part. So what I'm trying to do is that I'm going to see that if K3 is Boston, and if the value of entry is more than $100, then I want to add $100 to the value of entry. Right? Does that make sense? Because I want to check two conditions at the same time, I use an AND function inside an if function. So what Excel does is that it first checks for this AND function. If it returns true, it runs this. If it doesn't, if it returns false, it won't run this. So what do you think? It's Boston and it's more than $100, so it's correct, right? So what happens that Excel runs this and then adds $100 to the value of entry. So it should be 1,100, right? And this is correct, right? So now try to reproduce the same number here in the second column. All right. Next function is count ifs. Let me highlight it again. Another logical function combined with an aggregated function. We have two conditions, and if they're true, we want to, if they're true or false, it doesn't matter. If they're both true for some of these records, we want to count those records. So here I'm asking Excel if in this column you find any Boston city, and in this column you find any current price larger than $100, then count those records. But then again, these two conditions should be correct at the same time, right? So we can check it manually here to make sure our function is working. So here I have 4 Boston cities, right? So this is for the first condition. For the second condition, if I look at these Boston cities, only 2 of them are above $100. I have 200, which they don't count because they're not more than $100. So I only have 2 values, $1,000 and 1,100. And if we count them, then I will have only 2 records that meet this condition, right? So it should be 2, and it's 2, so this is correct. Now try yourself, go ahead and try to count under these 2 conditions in this column. Max if, again, another logical function combined with aggregated functions. Again, it's very similar. I'm checking for one condition here. My condition is city of Boston. And then what I'm telling Excel to do is that I'm looking for all the city of Bostons, and I want to find the maximum price in column N. So this is the range that I'm trying to maximize, select it. And then this is my criteria range. So I have 4 cities named Boston, so 4 records. Excel checks these 4 records and then find the maximum number. So I have 1,000, I have 200, and I have 1,100. What is the maximum? The maximum is 1,100, right? So this is correct, this is 1,100. Go ahead and try to do that yourself. And remember that you can either type it here or you can go to this formulas bar and then use the functions or insert functions there and then insert your arguments using that.